Welcome to Totes Professional Gaming. Today we're diving into Mad Max, the game that lets you unleash your inner road warrior in a vast post-apocalyptic wasteland. Played on a PS5 Pro, where it runs about as smoothly as you'd expect from a 2015 open world title. Even with the PS4 game enhancements on, I didn't notice any difference. The frame rate was a solid 30 FPS, but the resolution was just 1080p, clear enough to navigate, but the very sunny scenes did look a little muddy sometimes. The textures aren't particularly detailed either, and quite repetitive, so I'd be down for a proper remaster, or even just a resolution boost alongside an unlocked frame rate could breathe new life into this game, given how overlooked it was at release. But the real question is, does this game capture the chaotic fun of the films, or does it feel like the fuel gauge is stuck on empty?
Start the car. We need to go.
The story of Mad Max revolves around the titular character, Max Rockatansky. Wait, is that his real name? Okay then. Well, after a brutal encounter with the warlord Scrotus and his army, Max's beloved car is stolen and he's left for dead. This sets the stage for Max's journey, getting back on his feet, reclaiming his car, and seeking vengeance on the man who wronged him. The plot itself is fairly straightforward, but there's an interesting mix of personal and external conflict. Max is driven not only by a desire for revenge, but also by a growing sense of loneliness and loss. His journey through the wasteland is one of survival and searching for meaning in a world that's long since forgotten what it means to be civilized. Along the way he meets some colorful characters, including the eccentric mechanic Chumbucket and the mysterious Hope, who have their own ties to the wasteland's tragic past. The story's pacing is a bit of a mixed bag. It starts with an urgent need for revenge, but the more you play, the more it becomes a journey of Max seeking redemption and meaning in the wasteland. Along the way, you'll unlock more backstory, not just for Max, but for the world itself, as you discover relics of the old world and encounter others who are trying to make something out of nothing. It's not the deepest story ever told, but it's enough to keep you invested as you tear through enemy camps and upgrade your car. And if you like your storytelling with a side of this world is out to get you, then this game delivers that in spades.
He's had it! Get out or you die! Malfunction is now!
Now the gameplay. This is where Mad Max really shines. If you've ever wanted to feel like a post-apocalyptic action hero, the driving mechanics will have you grinning like you're behind the wheel of a real death machine. The car combat is a blast. The magnum opus feels weighty, fast, and surprisingly responsive. Nothing gets your blood pumping like slamming into enemies head-on or launching missiles from your vehicle's roof. But it's not just about driving from point A to point B. It's about how you get there. You can upgrade your car with all kinds of additions, from fire-spewing exhausts to a fully equipped Thunderpoon missile launcher. Trust me, you'll want to make these upgrades early, because taking down enemy convoys with your custom-built wrecking machine is far more satisfying than anything else in this game. Here's the thing, the grind is worth it. Unlocking new car parts, upgrades, and new abilities does make a visible difference, especially when you start taking on tougher enemies and bigger challenges. And let's not forget about the hand-to-hand combat.
You want to scrotus his henchman?
The fights are surprisingly fun, with solid Arkham-esque mechanics that let you take down hordes of enemies with satisfying brutality. It's simple, but it works incredibly well, especially when you start unlocking new moves to make Max feel more like a one-man army. The one downside to the combat is that it doesn't feel as responsive as I would have liked, so you can't always time your parries with precision. Mad Max is, unsurprisingly, all about Max. He's the strong, silent type, typically grunting more than actually saying anything of substance. You know, the kind of character who will happily let a car explode, then stare at the wreckage with a face that could cut glass. Yet you can't help but feel a little drawn to his rugged, lone wolf charm. But there's more to Max's world than just his grizzled exterior. Along the way you'll meet Chumbucket,
Say? Oh, Saint, come and see! Come and see, oh, Saint!
your mechanic and sidekick, who's basically the human embodiment of enthusiastic but unhinged. This bloke really loves cars, so much so that it's borderline creepy. Still, his devotion to Max is almost endearing, even if he can get a bit much at times. Hope, another key character, is a resourceful woman who's trying to survive in this desolate world. Her daughter is central to her motivations, and their relationship gives a little emotional depth to the otherwise chaotic wasteland. It's not exactly Shakespeare, but it's enough to keep things interesting when the action pauses for a moment. Max's relationship with them brings you to one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the game, which really took me by surprise as everything before then had been more implicit than explicit. I won't spoil any more because it's worth experiencing for yourself.
Announce your business, or learn to love a bolt in the brain.
It is me! Chumbucket!
You'll also encounter the leaders of various friendly-ish camps, each with their own quirky personalities and styles. While they're not exactly winning any most complex character awards, they do serve their purpose in fleshing out the world. Then there's Scrotus. He's the main antagonist, your typical mad warlord who's basically a walking headache with a grudge. He's the leader of the War Boys, a gang that rules the wasteland with an iron fist and enjoys a bit of vehicular mayhem on the side. While not exactly the most fleshed out villain, Scrotus is still menacing enough to get your blood boiling, especially when you start tearing through his camp and his allies. He's as deranged as they come, but he's got a lot of minions, which, lucky for you, means plenty of opportunities for car combat and destruction.
I found you!
The world of Mad Max is as unforgiving as the people who live in it. A barren wasteland, it's an endless stretch of desolation, rusted out ruins, and twisted metal remnants of a once thriving world. Everywhere you look, you'll see scars of a civilization long gone. Rusted vehicles, decaying structures, and piles of rubble everywhere. It's a place where survival is a daily struggle and hope is rare. The game's dynamic weather system adds a layer of unpredictability to the world. You'll occasionally get caught in violent sandstorms that reduce visibility to almost nothing, making driving especially dangerous and adding some much needed tension to your journey. The game does a great job of making the world feel lived in, with every camp, stronghold and outpost telling its own story of decay and survival.
So many awful tales about this place.
But the world of Mad Max isn't just about vast deserts and open roads. The game also has some unexpected indoor and underground sections, which brings a welcome change of pace. These subterranean areas often feature a darker, more oppressive atmosphere, filled with narrow, maze-like corridors and claustrophobic spaces. Here, the danger isn't just from the elements, but from the enemies lurking in the shadows. It's a nice contrast to the wide open spaces above, adding variety to the world and making every exploration feel unique. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are also pockets of beauty, strange otherworldly landscapes like the dusty plains dotted with forgotten landmarks or the eerie tranquility of a dead ocean bed. These moments of serenity make the occasional violent encounters or chaotic car chases feel even more jarring, reminding you that in the wasteland, beauty and danger go hand in hand. The side quests. Here's where Mad Max can go from exciting to a bit of a drag. The game has a ton of optional content, and while some of it can be fun, like hunting down convoys or capturing enemy camps, other parts are more of a been there done that experience. You'll be tasked with things like clearing out outposts or collecting scrap. And while these objectives are good for upgrading your car and gear, they do start to feel repetitive after a while. You'll also be spending a fair amount of time climbing up radio towers, because of course, but the fact that they are hot air balloons makes them a little more exciting. While you're up in the sky, you get to use your binoculars to mark enemy positions and other useful items. Some of the side quests are genuinely fun, especially the convoy missions. They're like mini road battles where you chase down vehicle convoys, smash them up, and destroy their leaders. These are the moments when you'll really feel like you're living the Mad Max films. You can also use the scrap that you've been scavenging to upgrade the friendly camps and unlock water refills and ammo refills for your shotgun every time you visit. As you get through side quests, you'll encounter Griffa, the somewhat mystical philosopher who appears every so often to ponder Max's relationship with violence and his place in the world. Griffa's not just here to spout pretentious nonsense. He also offers you the chance to unlock some upgrades, if you're willing to give him some Griffa tokens. These tokens are earned by completing various tasks in the game, like conquering camps. Once you've collected enough tokens, visit Griffa to unlock upgrades for Max, improving his health, abilities, and combat skills. It's a bit like a mystical version of the RPG upgrade system, only you have to listen to someone drone on about your inner turmoil while you're at it. But hey, those upgrades are really worthwhile, so maybe you'll put up with the philosophy.
Shifter of sands, spiller of lifeblood, you stand ready to be transformed. Let us begin.
Alright, let's talk accessibility. Mad Max does a decent job in making sure that most players can enjoy the ride through the wasteland. You've got the standard options like subtitles, which are pretty clear and easy to read, but it's also great that they let you tweak their size. There are also a few colorblind settings to make sure the game is a bit more readable, especially in those stormy moments where visibility takes a dive. In terms of controls, the remapping options are decent. If you've got a specific need, you can reassign buttons to suit you. And let's not forget the game's difficulty options. It has a pretty flexible approach, and for those who prefer to focus on the driving action, you can adjust combat difficulty separately. There's also an option for camera sensitivity, so if you're someone who struggles with fast movements or needs a little more precision, this could be a lifesaver. It's not the most extensive accessibility suite out there, but it's clear the game does its best to cater to a wider audience, especially considering its 2015 release. Would it be nice to see more? Absolutely, but what's there is functional.
Where is it?
The game certainly knows how to capture the chaotic spirit of the franchise. The driving mechanics are fun, the car combat is satisfying, and there's enough to keep you engaged if you can get past the odd grind here and there. If you're a fan of the films, or just enjoy a solid open-world action game, you'll find plenty to like. Sure, it has its flaws, but when you're tearing through the wasteland in a fully upgraded magnum opus, it's hard to care too much about the minor annoyances. That's all for today's review of Mad Max. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your own thoughts on the game. Remember, the wasteland might be empty, but your gaming library doesn't have to be. I'm pretty sure Mad Max is currently part of PlayStation Hits, so you can get it via your PS Plus premium subscription. Otherwise, you can get it for $15.99 on the store. Well worth its current price when you compare it to more contemporary open-world games. Thank you for watching.
Never asked you your name.
Max. And I'm mad as